guys. I just posted a bunch of things here in the chat box for anyone who's interested. The first one is an event in town that UMKC's Multicultural Student Affairs Club is hosting, and it's a virtual panel discussion on February 17th at 6:30 p.m. and it's called Who Am I? And it's Breaking the Myth, Asian Americans and the Trouble with Model Minority Stereotype. And that Zoom link to RSVP is right underneath. This is a really cool opportunity. Get featured on Missouri Arts Council. You just follow this link and you submit a very easy submission and they will feature you on their social media and on their website and stuff like that. And that's really great exposure. Here's a call for entry from Buttonwood. It's a show they're having titled Art for Animals. The deadline is March 1st, so that's kind of around the corner-ish. So that's the link to apply for that. Here's another call for a show called Art of Photography. It closes on March 12th. Here's the link. Below that is Tallgrass Residency in Kansas. It's a really neat, I think, I don't know too many details, but I think it can be from a couple weeks to a couple months, and it's like in the prairie in Kansas. It's very peaceful. If you need like a little creative getaway, should apply. The link. The deadline is March 15th. I've never done it, but I've had friends who've done it, and it was really a good time to just be like with their ideas and kind of figure some things out with their work. Another one here, Art Westport, really great show. If you ever are into doing art fairs or pop-up shows, I've done Art Westport twice now in the emerging artist booth, which is the best way to go. It's the best way to go. It's like $200, I think maybe $250 for the whole weekend. It's 3 days. And the emerging artist booth is this like quad shaped wire booth. So it already has structure, so you can just go in and hang your work on the wires. It's awesome. It's much better than having to like buy that expensive tent and lug all that in. But if you have all that, there are fancy spots you can get to. It's a great show, and I'm happy to see that shows like that are coming back. And so I hope it feels safe for everyone, and I hope it can be a moneymaker for a bunch of artists. So that's a good one to apply for. It closes on May 31st. Yay, some comments here. Okay, I have a few more I need to copy and paste in here. If you guys have any questions about these too, we can like click on them and talk about them real quick, but I think they're pretty easy. Just follow the links, and you can always email me if you have questions about how to apply for any of them or need help with anything like that.
Okay.
Okay, 2 more here. Boop. Okay, the top is Tim Murphy Art Gallery. So that's an art gallery looking for, I think, variety of art and medium. And then the bottom one is a place in Grandview, a new like brewery. And they have a brewery and then a restaurant connected. And they're looking for artists to be on their walls. And she said you can just email her at the email here. She had a phone number too, but I don't like giving out people's phone number, so sorry. But you can email me if you want her phone number. I'll give it to you. So that's all my, these are my opportunities. At the end of the meeting, I'll talk about like things we have going on at KCAC, but I kind of want to get into the artists right now. So I'm just gonna popcorn Harold. Are you wanna, and you guys, if you wanna share your screen at any point to show any images of your work or anything, just let me know and I can fix that here.
Okay, my name is Harold Smith. I was one of the Black Lives Mural artists, along with I see Adriana, Vivian, Avrion, and I thought I saw Michael down there, Michael Toombs, and Natasha Ria El-Scari, curator of the Natasha Ria Art Gallery. And she just recently is curating an incredible exhibit at the American Jazz Museum. You know, and I was just sitting here thinking, you know, 4 years ago, Natasha started out curating shows in barbershops and beauty salons, and in 4 years has went from that to curating a show in a major museum. I mean, that right there, that's mind blowing. So that's some of the great people that I've had the opportunity to exhibit with and just be around, just good people, good folk. So I'm off.
I'm so excited everyone's able to join us this morning. I want to just, I'm going to interrupt really quickly and just, if everyone hasn't seen this yet, this Casey Studio magazine for this month, this is Harold Smith's piece on the front, and this entire magazine is featuring like everybody in this call right now. I was looking through it this morning. I was like, oh my gosh, Vivian, you have a whole feature. I'm sorry, where is the, I have this all tabbed up, things I want to show you guys. Oh my gosh. All right, look.
I love it.
So KCAC has a huge stack of these, and I think other arts organizations and places in town have them too, so grab one for sure. I'll embarrass more people at the end, sorry. Yay. Avrion, do you want to talk about your work?
Sure. I am Adrianne Clayton. I'm a single mother of 4 and grandmother of 1. Just recently, I am a UMKC alum. So I earned my bachelor's degree in studio art with emphasis in graphic design there. I have a master's in curriculum and instructional leadership, and I have an ed spec in elementary admin. I've been teaching art for about 20 years now, and mostly working with my scholars and just training them to be artistic and to trust themselves and to experiment and learn about other great artists. And I am also one of the 6 muralists. My mural was on 18th and Vine. And I am a part of Black Space Black Art, where Natasha Ria El-Scari is our fearless leader. We've gotten a lot of opportunities through her. She's a poet and an author herself. And so she was already kind of thrust into the art world here in Kansas City. And so she is our resource, our very rich resource, and the person that connects us with all these opportunities, because I am super busy being a mother and a teacher. I am a part of the exhibit at the Jazz Museum as well. And I'm excited about that. You all should go and see it as soon as possible. It's full of color and movement, and it's very celebratory of Kansas City jazz culture. I don't know. I create however I feel in the moment. So some of my work will look like a part of a collection and you can tell, and then some of my work will be like, oh, she did that too. So I'm very, I think, flexible in that way. I think a lot of that comes through teaching, because as I teach different techniques and styles and about different artists to my scholars, they learn better when I'm doing and not necessarily when I'm talking about it. So I think that's where a lot of that flexibility comes from. That and my mother, who always told me to be able to do whatever anyone asked me to do as an artist, any style. And she wasn't an artist herself, so I was really angry with her when she was telling me that as I was a younger person. But then I'm glad now that I listened to her, because I am able to just kind of do whatever I want and have fun with it. So I guess that's it.
That's amazing. I think it's really incredible to be able to create artwork across a bunch of different mediums.
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes a really special kind of artist to be able to see and visualize artwork in different formats, and be able to take an idea and say, I'm going to make a sculpture today, and then take an idea and say, I'm going to make a painting today. And I think you are right about the teaching. I think that it's really incredible, because you know how to manipulate all these techniques and materials to fit your certain idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that so much. I feel like that's such an asset.
Thank you.
Yeah, part of being creative. Okay, sorry, I was having a little problem admitting everyone, guys. I got too involved in what everyone was talking about. Oh man, does anyone have any questions? Do you want to, you can unmute yourself or we can put them in the chat box. Cool. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, great. Does anyone else want to talk? Let me see who else is here. I can't see everyone at once.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. I am Natasha Ria El-Scari. I am currently awake but sleep. And I just want to say that I am only on this call because I love Harold Smith so much. And I think the work that you all do is amazing. Otherwise, I would be in the depths of my REM.
Oh no, so sorry.
So I'm glad, I am happy to be here though, seriously. So my name is Natasha, and I am the founder of Black Space, Black Art. My art life is not the first part of my life. I am a writer, author of 5 books, also an editor, a ghostwriter, a life coach, and the co-founder of the El-Scari Harvey Art Gallery, now founder of the Natasha Ria Art Gallery. Which is in a shared space within the Center for Spiritual Living, Kansas City. And I'm super excited to have been asked to find several of the muralists for the Black Lives Matter project. I see the great Michael Toombs here with a looming picture in the background. That is so cool. It was a pleasure to work with Michael in that way as well. I have just a deep love of visual arts. I am not a visual artist.
Oh, no, hold on. I think she got muted. Oh, 1 second, 1 second.
Am I back?
You're back, you're back. Sorry about that.
What'd y'all miss? You don't know what you missed because you couldn't hear it. That was the part when I was singing, and now you all have missed it.
No.
I'll bring it back later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but yeah, so did you hear that I'm a writer, or I get a chance to work with Harold, Adrianne, and Vivian, and Avrion, and Warren all the time. I'm sure many of you on the call know that Harold is bossy. He will suggest things and encourage you to step outside of your comfort zone. But Harold is a great friend and mentor to all, I think, that seek advice and wisdom from him. Just don't ask him to go anywhere. That's the key. If he can do it from home or you go to him, it can be done easily. But don't think you all are going jogging together. It's not happening. I'm giving Harold crap today, so.
I love it.
But yeah, I think that it's just important to know that one of my major aims, not only in visual art, but also in writing, is to give space and for African-American artists to move us from the margin to the center, for us to work more than during Black History Month. And when we work, that our work is honored. We're not there to duplicate the status quo. We are there to have our unique Black experience to be shared, not to be mocked or bastardized. And I think that is just very important, that as we look at what systemic racism looks like, and for the women in the collective, what anti-motherhood looks like for artists. It is how women have to create space for themselves. And many times, and I'm not saying it's the case for the women here, but being in collectives and organizations help to pull us out of the rut of motherhood so that we can create and that we can be, because we mothers know how to be accountable. So that's why collectives are really helpful to mothers, because we're like, oh, we got to do something with somebody. We know how to do that. We know how to brush teeth and make sandwiches and make love and get everybody to work on time, all before 7 a.m. So we already know that. And I also think that just organizationally, it's important for Black artists not to create in isolation. Culturally, it is really important for us to share and have community. And as important as art is to the African-American community, it is often misunderstood, even by the members of the community, what it means to be an artist. And so that is really, I'm bossy about it, and I don't mind being an artistic bitch, if I can use that word, because I'm going to advocate not only for myself, but also for other artists, for artists that are over a certain age, for artists that did and didn't graduate from art institutions. I think that we need all hands on deck. And I think that we need to bash the classism and elitism of the visual art and the literary world. And I don't mind.
Well, you're doing the good work. And I'm so happy we're recording this because that was amazing. I feel like it's really incredible to see artists. Creating work takes so much out of you, and it's such a vulnerable place to be in. And you do so much community-driven work. It's really incredible to see artists taking time away from their practice, away from their families, away from all these things to uplift other artists. I think is a really special thing, and that's what creates community. That's how art communities get built. That's how people support each other. And I just think it's really incredible when people take that extra time out of their 24 hours to uplift and encourage and give other artists opportunities. It's really impressive.
I had a question for Natasha.
Yeah.
Okay. I was mentioning earlier that 4 years ago you started out curating exhibits in beauty shops and barber salons, and now you've curated an exhibit in one of America's premier jazz museums within a span of 4 years. And what does that feel like?
Well, honestly, I'm never surprised by the resilience of Black women. Let me just say that first. I mean, why are we even still here? How in the hell did we even survive this far? And so anytime, I have an opportunity, I have to show up in a way that is so different than what anyone else has to do. And I'm not saying that to promote or push, the magical, mythical Negro. I'm not doing that, but I am saying.
Need to mute their mics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. So sorry.
That's okay. I know you had to. Yeah. But I am saying that it is definitely a challenge to do so. So because meeting obstacles is something that I think comes out of the womb for being Black in this country, meeting a no doesn't feel like anything other than it's felt when you didn't win an essay contest because you wrote about Rosa Parks instead of writing about, F. Scott Fitzgerald. I mean, you meet those no's all through life. And so creativity is just a requirement. I think that because of I grew up with what I call domestic arts, and that is arts that you include in your everyday life. The clothes that you wear, the jewelry that you wear, the covers that you wrap yourself in, what you have to stay warm, the food that you eat. And so I was just taught that art is life. Art is not just on a wall. It's what changes your mood. It's what makes you want to make love. It's what helps you to cry at funerals. Art is life. And so I just realized that as much as it would be nice to be shown at beautiful spaces, white people don't have to let African-American artists into those spaces. And they've shown that they won't. And so I'm not begging to be included where I am not wanted. So I'm just gonna have to bust a new opportunity. When I did not see African Americans as a part of the art blow up in this city, and I have been an artist who've applied multiple times for grants, for opportunities. I have a master's degree. I'm an educator. I have worked federal grants for 13 years. I know how to write a grant. I'm not a dummy, but I'm watching who's at the table. I'm watching who's getting, and it ain't us. But it's the same one or two people that people understand or they trust, and that's fine. Like, that's great. But when are we going to expand that? Kansas City loves token Black folks. And sometimes I've been in that space, but it's like there's more of us out there. So I think that, one, the barbershops and beauty salons did think that I was crazy. It was a different concept, but it's not a concept that I created. I saw it in like 2000 when I was performing in San Diego in this place called RJ's Books and Barbershop. And so it had a bookstore in the back, and it had 6 pieces of art up in front of every station. And I was there with my best friend, and I was like, this is so, that art is for sale? And it never left me. And so when I started thinking, and I go to a lot of barbershops, just having a son and having my own hair short, and I spent a lot of time in beauty salons growing up, I was like, these are galleries. We come into these places and we are transformed. And barbers and cosmetologists are accepted artists in our community. Though that art is accepted as a profession, as everything, and we honor and value that, but we don't see visual art in that way. And you don't know what you're missing sometimes when you've always been hungry. And I knew that we were missing Black art because now people are looking for it. They're calling for it. They're like, oh, I can have an image of myself that's similar to me, the Black aesthetic in my home or office. That's not offensive. I won't go to jail for that. I mean, this is the part of the decolonization. You have to remember, anytime you go in and oppress people, you take 2 things from them. You take their gods and you take their art. Those are the 2 things that you take first. And so we have had to help the city decolonize, that they understand, yes, you can have and enjoy art by African Americans, and no, you cannot pigeonhole what you think Black art is, all right? And whatever we create is valuable. It is valuable. It's just as valuable as anything else that is created, and it deserves to be in multiple spaces. So I don't know if that's the long answer, the 10 a.m. answer, or the fired up, passionate answer. But yes, so that is, and so we've shown Vivian and I were talking about it. I think, like, I counted the last count, it's been 30 spaces. So we've created 30 changing art galleries in Kansas City. And I'm gonna go back and count for sure over the last 4 years. So imagine that, how cool that is to partner in that way.
Would anybody like to talk about the current exhibition at the Jazz Museum, as well as if people are interested in purchasing art, about finance plans and that?
Yeah, I've linked the Jazz Museum link in the chat box a couple times. So definitely anyone who's joining us, take that and more so go to the museum and see the show. But you can find out all the information on how to do that if you follow one of these links. And Harold, by like financing work, what are you talking about?
Oh, if people are interested in purchasing artwork through Natasha, they offer a payment plans you know, so you can break it down into payments.
Yes, thank you, Harold. And I do offer that, and that is really the number one way that we sell art. All right, is through the payment plan. We have some people that come and pay in right there on the spot, but for most people, if we talk about removing barriers to working class people or people of that are low income or people that actually don't have a lot of residual income, the payment plans have been a great way to make sure that art gets in the homes and offices of people who would like to own the pieces. We also pride ourselves on having pieces of different prices so that we get a lot of first-time original art buyers, which is a lot of our customers are first-time buyers. And so I manage that for the collective because I understand that that concept really helps art to become accessible. You may not have $500 to $700 right there that you can pay, but if you get to split it up over 90 days, then you are able to make that purchase. And that is probably the most fulfilling part outside of seeing these artists just create and go places they didn't think that they were going to go. But watching a person who makes $15 an hour go home with their first $200 piece of art, and they're so proud, and they come back for more because they realize probably more than anyone, their art needs to uplift them. And they get creative quick, and then they want custom pieces, and I just love that. The American Jazz Museum really is what the Black Space Black Art does on steroids. I also believe strongly in my gallery as well is to create an intimate experience with art. Traditional hanging of art is great. It's just very Eurocentric, and it's not really how African American culture engages. We're a lot more intimate, less cold, and so we really thrive on bursts of color. And if you want to be seen, you got to show out. That's how it is. If you want to be seen, you have to flex. So you should be able to experience art very close. If you all can see behind me, this is the style that I use in collaging. And sometimes we pair by color and theme. So this is kind of my Black liberation wall. You see, I have two Harold Smith pieces back there. One of them does not belong to me. It belongs to my daughter, who informed me that she would be taking it to college, and I informed her that she wasn't, because she's not gonna mess up my flow right there. But I also, and so the Jazz Museum is just this amazing burst of how we incorporate, how we hang art, and it's how we become known. And so we are really grateful for that too. And I would encourage all artists to not allow people's economy to dictate how you engage them. Artists can be very insulting to people who just want to know, who just want to learn. They don't know why something costs the way it costs, but they learn when they are taught. And so for all of the people who've had horrible experiences with customer service, they don't have that at my art gallery and through Black Space Black Art. And so it makes a difference. Never discount a person based on what you think they can afford, because they will come back if they are treated well, if they are respected and honored as human beings. And we need to create the next generation of artists who care about original art. And so they will be caring for us, and they will also be purchasing our art. And so we need to take care of our young people too. And we need to love on them and teach them. So I think I answered the question. I might not, it's 10 o'clock. I might not have answered it. I haven't been drinking. I haven't had coffee. I'm out here raw dogging it with y'all this morning, okay? I know I sound like Barry White.
It's all right. Natasha, got one more thing. I was talking to the Artist Coalition about, we're including about including poets, and because they're all artists. So can you tell us a little bit about Natasha, the poet, your books, and where people can find your books?
Sure. So I have actually been writing, teaching, writing poetry and performance since I was 13 years old, when I handed my first erotic story to my creative writing teacher, and she responded, "Baby, are you on birth control?" So, which was a great response that let me know that I had done a great job on the story. I mean, I didn't really know what I was talking about, but clearly it impacted her in a way that made it sound convincing. So I appreciate her for that. But I have been a performance poet and a jazz poet for a really long time. What's so interesting is that when you grow up in a jazz town, you don't realize how lucky you are to be around artists that actually know how to play behind poets. But as I've traveled the country, and I always collaborate with whatever um, musician is in the crowd, and I'm like, wow, there are people who really don't get it. And it made me appreciate Kansas City musicians so much more. So I'm most known for spoken word. Um, and that was more in my earlier life, and I still do spoken word. So I have 3 albums and 1 DVD, and I have 5 books. The first 2 books, uh, they are poetry. The first book is more of the popular spoken word poems, and the second book is I had to flex on people with my literary skills, because folks think that you can only do one thing. Again, the bastardization of spoken word, and literary poets kind of snuff at spoken word, and I'm like, yeah, just mad because you can't flex. But I had to show them that I do have a master's degree in creative writing, and I have to show them that too. And then I wrote my 3rd book in October of 2019 as a charge from my son, and it's called Mama Sutra: Love and Lovemaking Advice to My Son, because we have a lot of um, toxic masculinity, and heterosexual men are missing the mark. I am a quasi-sex therapist, and so I realized as a feminist I needed to really help men learn how to be lovers. And I taught both my son and my nephew those qualities, and I realized their life was so much easier because they knew how to relate to women from a pro-woman standpoint. And so I put all of that information in a book, and I would encourage even if you are a great lover, go through that book again with your partner. It's a great way to reignite and to discuss and to think about sex as liberation. Um, and then I decided to challenge myself, and I wrote a novel because I was trying to see if I could write a dissertation before I had to write the dissertation, and from that birthed a novel. And so I wrote my first novel, and it's called Growing Up Senna. It is probably the work that I'm most proud of, because turning from a poet to a novelist is just a lot. It's such a different way of writing. Um, and then I have a book dedicated to the magical decade of my grandmother's life, from the late 40s through the 50s, when she married and then divorced an abusive husband. And then the decade between her marrying my grandfather, who she was with until her death at the age of 88. And so it's written in African American dialect, which is the way that my grandmother spoke and the way that I loved hearing her speak. And I was never ashamed of it, even though I was told that I should be. And I realize now the magic of that. And she still comes to me in my dreams. And so I wanted to honor her. I want to honor working class Black women, women who have helped this country to survive. And I am currently working on my 6th book, which is called Still Life, and it is a book of 4 generations of feminism and how feminism has shown up in my family for 4 generations. I am also a mom, a single mom of 2. My son will graduate from Lehigh University in May, and my daughter will graduate from Lee Summit North High School in May as well. So I'm about to be an empty nester, y'all. It's gonna be chandeliers swinging up in here. So come on over. I got a crown. We gonna party.
Awesome. And I did link Natasha's website here so you can see all of her books. Go to her shop. You can see all of her work that she has. Do you also carry your books in your gallery?
Yes. So I carry the books in the gallery as well as some of the titles that so my editing life is kind of like this very private life. Obviously, I can't tell people when I'm ghostwriting books, but I am currently ghostwriting a book. And last year I put out 10 books from artists. And yeah, I know it's kind of crazy how it all comes together. But yes, so 10 books. And this year I'm working with, I have 4 clients right now that I'm working with that are near completion and some are just starting. So I really love editing because I edit very differently from a lot of editors, which again is this kind of how can I kill an artist's spirit versus how can I bring this work to birth? And that's a very different experience. Harold and Adrianne and Vivian teach in a way that encourages children to learn. And that is really important. We have to think about the damage. All of us can remember when teachers tried to kill our spirits, kill our creative work. And so we all work hard to make sure. And so when writers come to me, all of them have been told, you don't need to put out a book. You can't write. This story isn't interesting. And I'm like, again, we will not silence you. We will help you tell your story. And so it's a beautiful thing.
That's really incredible. And we also have the link here in the chat box to the gallery also. So everyone needs to check that out.
And there's so Black Space Black Art is featured there this month too. Actually, that was the start of the gallery. We were invited to come and show work there, and it turned into the gallery. So I'm excited to have, so you all are out there. I manage my website, which means that it is not always to date, and I apologize for that. But I think I do have the the exhibit up, but I haven't added the Jazz Museum exhibit yet. But yeah, I am definitely gonna have to get an assistant this year. I just can't continue to go at the pace that I go without it. And if there are any moms or grandmothers on here, I will tell you that our grandmothers carried us to their art, and I carried my children have probably attended over 1,000 poetry readings, and neither one of them like poetry, but they've met some of the greatest scholars. My daughter and I were joking, she has pictures with Angela Davis, Nikki Finney, Nikki Giovanni. Like, she has literally met the cadre, Sonia Sanchez. She's met the cadre of people because she was always the only kid at these readings. But I did not allow my motherhood to keep me from my art. And that is, and Don said, Natasha, when do you sleep? I sleep at 10 a.m. on Saturday, but not this one.
So sorry.
I'm kidding.
Thank you. Oh man, that's too good. That is too good.
Yeah, Michael Toombs. How are you doing, sir? Would you like to talk a little bit about your work?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Good, good. Can you tell us about what you've got going on artistically right now?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Natasha for her kind words. Thank you so much, and all the great work you're doing in the community. We have to have champions out there working for artists to provide them the opportunities to express their creativity. As a result of the Black Lives Matter initiative, a lot has occurred, a lot has happened. here recently, I've been looking at, well, starting in March, I'll be teaching a foundations course with the Art Institute. And it'll be around the subject of creative placemaking and interactive arts education. And that's kind of where I'd like to focus my discussion today, mainly because as a culture, and when I speak of that, I speak of everybody on this, in this Zoom, those who are creatives and those who are consumers of creatives. We came dangerously close to not having a safe environment in which to create and express freedom of creativity. And we're still looming on the edge of that. Our society is having a very difficult time distinguishing truth from lies. And one of the reasons I've worked with artists and I enjoy participating in events like this is because it's important that we are reminded how we should embrace our responsibility of communicating honestly through our creativity. And most of us know that you cannot be a true, pure creative without that honesty, because people won't feel you. So artists are the apostles of this period, I think. And we do have a very big responsibility to help our communities understand the difference between what they're being told and what is true. And so we have to continue to support initiatives like the one that we're participating in today with the Artist Coalition, and initiatives like what Natasha's trying to do by broadening access and opportunity for artists of color. We have to take every opportunity we can, like some of the other artists on this call who are teachers, who are reaching out to our young people and trying to inspire them to understand the importance of the creative voice. We have to battle in every corner to spread the word of creativity and the importance of it in our society, and the dimensions of creativity, because it's so much more than the aesthetic. And if we forget that, we will soon fall victim of those who have identified the anatomy of creative speaking and how it can be used as a tool to persuade and keep us from embracing those truths that are necessary for us to keep this society stable. So I want to thank everybody who's on this call today, because, and there's a lot of you, because I've looked at all the pages and there's quite a few people on this call. I don't know a lot of you, I'm sorry. But anytime I'm reached out to, I try and respond for whatever reason, because I think it's important that this message continues to be nurtured and shared. I think our studio work is vital, but our community-based work is necessary. And Harold, thank you for reaching out, inviting me to be a part of this, and always being on the forefront of trying to spread the word and looking for new ways to produce your creativity. Thank you for that. And I'm going to continue on this call, and there's so many people on this line. I'd like to hear from some of you as well, so I'm going to back off, but I did want to get that message out there so it can begin to germinate. So thank you, Artist Coalition, for pulling this together, and I hope you do more of these.
Yes, we will, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you. Avrion, would you like to speak, or Vivian? Not to call you guys out, but I'd love to hear more about your work and your practice.
Sure. I'm Avrion. I am a 3D artist, as well as a resin artist, a muralist, as well as a student art teacher. I teach 6-week classes to children all around the Kansas City area, to teach them the fundamentals of art. That started about a year ago, and it's been so amazing. I've already had 10 kids that I've taught. I've also am a well-known muralist within different Kansas City businesses, local businesses. Many of them are located at location 1 off 63rd. And I'm trying to think of the crossing street, but the best way to describe it is off 63rd Street. Used to be the old Social Security building. I'm also one of the muralists that were off 10th in Baltimore. And I just love to create. I've always created all my life. My mom always encouraged it. She would let me paint my walls as a child. She's like, have at it, just don't put it in my living room. So that's where I started.
That's wonderful. What's the name of your teaching program that you do?
It's cohesive with at-home school program that's Black owned, but it's called Designs by You because my solo business is called Designs by Avrion.
Awesome. I'm gonna try to find those and put them in the chat box.
Yes, the at-home schooling program is called What Up Homie. That's who I was with. Yes. So I taught kids located in Kansas City, St. Louis. They're generalized all around the country. So their mission is to teach kids all around the country.
That's incredible. And so that's like a network of homeschoolers, and you can ask kids from the network.
That's correct. I'm currently not teaching this semester due to COVID and my work schedule, but we will be picking up very soon.
That's great. Very cool. And do you have a personal website with your artwork on it?
Thanks for asking. It's currently under construction. I'm doing a lot of revamping right now. After the murals, my clientele had went up to another level. So I'm trying to make sure that it's more organized and efficient. But if the best way to reach me is on my business page, being at Designs by Avrion on Facebook as well as Instagram.
Oh, perfect. Here, I'm gonna look it up. I know I think a lot of artists, we like do our own websites and do all this stuff, and it's a lot to manage.
It is, and it got very chaotic for me. I also work at the University of Kansas Hospital. I've been there for 7 years. So with COVID as well as trying to run your business, it can be, a
lot. Well, you're doing a great job. And Amanda shared your link here in the chat box. So everyone,
thank you.
Wow.
Avrion is also the newest member of Black Space, Black Art. So I want to acknowledge that too.
Thank you.
We are so glad to have a three-dimensional artist to join us. And so Avrion is just an amazing spirit. She's being so modest, but which is great, but not necessary. But she is just an amazing person in addition to being a great and daring artist. And you have to come and check out her three-dimensional exhibit at the gallery as well, because at the American Jazz Museum. Oh, and at the gallery as well, because you have to, when we talk about usable art, she creates the custom dominoes, and like they're beautiful. So imagine as a woman who likes to beat people in dominoes finally has her purple set, black, and silver, and white. So now I get to beat guys at dominoes and look cute in my domino game. So definitely, if you're into dominoes, get you a custom set from Avrion.
As well as tic-tac-toe boards.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to come into the gallery. What are your hours you're keeping right now?
Gallery hours are from 4 to 7, Wednesday through Friday, and by appointment only. Or not by appointment only, but also by appointment. So I will open up to meet someone's schedule as long as it's before or afternoon.
Perfect.
I was going to say that's why it's super important that artists have a Natasha, because when you work a full-time job and you're trying to create, she just kind of like gets to boss us around a little bit and be like, hey, we need to be here. This is what we need. And I'm like, okay, yeah, give me that. Because I don't really want to have to keep up with the time, the place, just tell me what I need to do and then I'll do it and get it done. So she's really great about that. And then of course she's well known, so everyone just comes to her when they need an artist, and she always brings it back to us. And is this something we want to do? Do we want to do it as a collective? Do we want to do it individually? She brings other artists in with us sometimes, which is how we met Avrion when we did the Black Lives Matter murals. And she is great spirit, really kind, really loving, really supportive. So yeah, I think every artist needs a Natasha Ria El-Scari in some magnitude, especially if you just want to create and that's it.
I agree. She's helped me a whole lot. Trying to get everything back in order as far as my life as well as art. And a lot of things I forget. I'm so forgetful. And she reminded me like, hey, you are the bomb. You got to show it. So.
That's really incredible.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Hi, everyone. My name is Vivian Bluett, and I am also a member of Black Space, Black Art. I am the arts facilitator for the Village KC. The Village KC is a nonprofit organization that focuses heavily on teens in our community. A lot of times the teens kind of get left out, get left behind in a lot of things. We have a lot of organizations that cater to the little babies, the kids. A lot of times, you know, the Christmas toys for tots are for the smaller kids. Even the programs are for the babies. And sometimes the teens, once you turn a certain age, people sometimes just kind of forget in a way about the teenagers. And the teenagers are the most impressionable. When they turn a certain age, if they don't have certain people with certain standards in their lives, sometimes, you know, it could go one way or the other. And, you know, if you're like my mom, who was a single mother with 3 teenage children, and all that you can afford to do is work, sometimes you need the village to just help you.
I know.
Help them keep their grades up, help, you know, nurture and mold them in the direction that they want to go. So the Village KC is really important to me. It's really special to me. I am also a mother of 3 boys. I have children in every age group. I have a 15-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 2-year-old toddler who drives us all bananas, but runs the show. So I am definitely a busy person in that regard. I have learned to speak up for myself in my home. I am a wife, so I'm not a single mom, but I am a stay-at-home mom. So my husband is at work all the time. So I'm the one here maintaining the home. And as we all know, there's a lot to that with in having school at home now, having 3 sons. I mean, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they might come by it, they might not some days. And that's just the honest truth. But I do try to purposely make time for my art. I purposely make time, and to me, my art is for me. My art is for people that look like me, that love like me, people. I create a lot of feminine art, and I hear a lot of people ask me, why don't I create more art for boys or men? And that's just not my route right now. My art is absolutely in reflection of myself. It's something that I do for me. It's not, my art is not about my kids. I love my kids to death, and there are a lot of things that I do in sacrifice for my children, but my art is not one of those things. It's just not. And it did take a little while for me to come up with a way to explain that, because I really didn't, when I first started painting, I just started doing it. It was just something that I always kind of wanted to do, but I never took the time to do it. I never went to the Art Institute. I never, just really sat down and got a formal training, but it was something that I wanted to do. So the supplies were available and I just did it. And what came out of me was what was in me. And even though my children are from me or of me, it just wasn't something that when I started painting, it just wasn't, that's not what I wanted to express. It wasn't what was there. So finally, I found a way to articulate, why don't you create more for boys? Well, Batman and Spider-Man is just not what's in me. So, I create what I love. I create what moves me. And being a part of Black Space, Black Art afforded me the opportunity to be also a part of the community, the 6 artists who did the Black Lives Matter murals. My mural was on 63rd and Brookside. I see Dawn that's here. She was such a great help to me that day. Y'all, it was insane. It was crazy, but it was the best experience of my life thus far. I don't think that I ever thought that I would be able to experience so many people who were emotional about something that I did. And being out there for those 3 days, I met a lot of people who were extremely vulnerable to me about how they felt about race relations, about our city, about our country. And I have never in my life been able to relate to people as much as I have been able to relate to them, or they have been able to relate to me, than I have expressing myself through my art. I think that sometimes when you have conversation with people, they either really listen to you very deeply or they turn you off and pretend to be listening very deeply. But I think when you present something that people see with their eyes, it's hard to turn that off. And they carry it. People carry it with them, even if they're no longer standing with you, even if they're no longer in your presence. They carry what they see with them, and they are able to have that internal conversation with themselves. And it's really hard to turn that off within you. So when you're creating something that someone can see visually and they don't have a choice, you either connect immediately, or, you can turn your eye, but it still sticks with you somehow. It still sticks in a way. And I don't think I've ever experienced that or even imagined experiencing that with people, that they can connect with you and they're brave about telling you that they connect with you. They feel a connection with you. I've had so many tear-filled people come and tell me stories about how they're affected by my art, even with children. I've had moms and dads tell me how grateful they are that my art looked like their daughter. You have no idea how insecure my daughter was about her hair. You have no idea how insecure my son was about that skin complexion. Like, representation is extremely important. And that is something that is a goal. I hope that people take it with them. And there is humanity found in what you're seeing. That's the goal for me. Being a part of Black Space, Black Art has given me a certain amount of courage that I don't think that I had before. Just being in a collective with other artists who were as brave as they are. There's always, power in numbers. And I've learned so much. I've learned so much from Adrianne and Harold and Natasha, and I've learned so much from Warren and even Avrion. We share, we teach, we love. We are definitely a village, and I would not be as I don't feel like I am as confident as I would like to be, but I'm definitely not where I was when it comes to expressing, explaining, being authentic. not sugarcoating where I'm coming from or what I'm trying to say. I have picked that up from the strong people that I deal with. And we do deal with each other very regularly, very intimately. And that's important to me. And I never realized as an artist, it's kind of isolating. And I didn't realize I needed it until I had it. I didn't realize the magnitude of this collective and how important these people are to me until I had them with me. Even Linnell, even Nikita, which were artists that were a part of our group previously, I still, I'm cheering for them, rooting for them, loving them every step of the way. I really want to encourage you guys to please go to the American Jazz Museum to see the exhibit. Please go to Natasha Ria Art Gallery to see the exhibit as well. If you haven't made it to the murals, please go by each one of the murals and experience them. I'm really crossing my fingers and toes that we'll be able to touch them up every year. We'll be able to make them look brand new again. So, thank you guys for coming today. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for having us. We are appreciative for sure.
We are appreciative. It's such a treat to have everyone here and speak about your work and your careers and your passions. It's really uplifting and really inspiring. And just hearing you speak, I mean, obviously people are attracted to your work because you're creating it from such a real, intimate place. Like you are creating for yourself. And that is when people connect to what you are doing. And to do it in a public format like that and public art, I mean, that's the true gift, is when people can come up to you and say, this is the way that your art affects me. I think that's why a lot of us create work, is for that connection. So it's really incredible to hear those kind of stories.
And I do want to just share, when we talk about representation and impact, Vivian's, one of her styles is just to create such beautiful kid-friendly art. And kid-friendly does not mean it's not political or heavy. And so some of her political heavy work in that style, it throws people off completely, but it's also helped people to unravel their history as children and what they experience, especially in her civil rights series, when she's putting children in the pictures or in the art, because we think as adults that children are not watching. But Vivian's art reminds us that children are watching everything and they are experiencing this right along with us. One beautiful story I just want to share is that a mother came in and had custom art created for her daughter, and her daughter slept with the art in her bed. She was so in love with the piece. And so Vivian recreated her in the piece because all of the dark-skinned girls in art had straight hair. And then all of the fair-skinned girls had kinky hair. And I don't know if you all know about that dynamic, but you can never have more than 3 Black characteristics. So they always mix it up. If you look on television, it's difficult. So, you're not gonna find a big booty, dark skin, Black girl with kinky hair, full lips. Like they're not gonna give you the whole. They're gonna say you can be light with kinky hair, you can be dark if you have thin lips. So they do these things to compartmentalize. And already this chocolate little girl already had her grown-up body and her dark skin and her full lips and her kinky hair. And she was so in love with the art, she slept with it. And her mother finally said, you're gonna ruin it, babe. You can't sleep with it. Vivian met with her, sat on the floor, got on her level and talked to her, and she was so shy. She didn't say a whole lot, but it changed her. Her mother said she just flourished after that. And so being accessible as an artist, it's okay to be weird. Just be kind, right? It's fine. Vivian held people's stories, and that wasn't her job. While she's creating a mural in 7,000 degree heat, doing something she's never done with 8,000 people who don't know her, but they're there to help. And she stopped to bear witness to their stories of how race and racism has impacted their lives. She didn't have to do that, but she's so good at that. She's so good at holding space for people's stories. And I just want to remind everybody, it was interesting. Toni Morrison was criticized. They said she could be the greatest writer of all times, but she only writes about Black people. She only writes about Black people. So that's what makes her not interesting. And her response was, well, that's who's interesting to me. And we only ask marginalized people to write outside of or create outside of who they are. We don't, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I don't see a representation of me. How am I supposed to get along with this? And so I think Vivian's art is not even, it's not done with a commercial idea, but she is done with such a big heart that she is a great entry for people who need to get it, who need to understand it's not about you and this is beautiful. And so I just want to applaud Vivian in that way, because I see how people transform when they experience her art, but also her as a person.
You, Natasha, girl, I appreciate that. We definitely had some stories, and I do think that it's important to remember, even when you're busy, even when you're rushing, even when as a mom, trust me, I know, because sometimes when you're busy, when you're on a time crunch, when you have things to do, when you got a million people counting on you, you still have somebody that needs you. And it's so easy to snap. It's so easy to be like, oh my God, what? But there was a woman who, she and her husband came, they were looking at the mural, and this lady was sobbing, literally crying. And I approached her and I asked her to just tell me what she was feeling. And she said, you know, one of the letters at my mural has names of victims of police brutality. They are victims who were unarmed African-American people who were killed. And she was looking at those names and she was crying. And she said, when will this stop? I just can't take it. When is this gonna stop? And I told her, you know, I honestly cannot give you the answer to that question. I don't know when this is gonna stop. I sincerely hope that it stops soon. And her husband was with her and he was cradling her. And this lady, she was an elderly lady and she was crying. And he said, do you really think that this is helpful? Do you think that putting this paint on the street is really gonna help us? I've been living all these years and this is not helpful. And I said, you know, I can't tell you that this is gonna be helpful, but what I can tell you is that my hope is there are children who are gonna be attracted to this mural. And as adults, when these children grow up, these children are gonna be the people making the laws. This is gonna touch people. I hope that this is gonna be something that touches people to change laws so that we can hold people accountable for what it is that is being done to us unjustly. That is my hope. I can't tell you that me having this paint out here is gonna make a change today. But what I hope is that the children who cross this street, because the mural is right beside an elementary school, I really hope that these kids remember this. I hope they're having these conversations at home with their parents and there are changes that are gonna happen. And I hope that this sticks with them. And it was probably about 4 months later, I was on a conference call. And who is leading this conference call is none other than the woman who was standing on the side of the street crying to her husband about the names on this mural. And we had such an awesome conversation that day. And I say that it matters how you treat people, because if I had just ignored that woman or been annoyed with her or, you know, been snippet with her or short with her that day, now she's on this conference call in charge of some really important projects, in charge of some really important things that have to do with the school district and these children. It could have went a totally different way, but now we have a story. Now we have a connection. Now we have something between each other that nobody knows how that felt that day, but me, her, and her husband. And it really does matter how you treat people. I have several other stories. It's very similar to that, but I just want to remind everybody, like, you just be careful. You have to be careful and be aware of how you treat people. Bottom line.
That's the beauty of creative placemaking and interactive arts education. A lot of people don't realize that in these large scale facilitated programs, the art is the process, not so much the outcome. The outcome was wonderful, and it was a result of facilitating a process that allowed a number of people who had frustration and anger and dismay about what was going on in the country. It gave them a safe outlet in which to express their frustration. And it was peaceful. Even despite that, it was labeled Antifa. And it's important to remember that if you went to one of these sites, and you know, this project we're discussing here today is just one of a number of programs that we've done on this scale. In Topeka, we did Brown v. Board, which was also a sensitive matter in Topeka, and then also Crossroads with the police department in Topeka, where in almost every case, as in the one here in Kansas City with 6 very large scale murals simultaneously being created, expressing similar thoughts, cutting right to the bone of what the issue was. And yet we had a diverse body of people who came to participate. Everyone on this call looked like they could have been there that day and those days. And we had music, we had snacks, we had a lot of love, we had a lot of communion. All of this is part of the interactive and creative placemaking anatomy. And it can be applied to anything. It can be implemented in a situation with a small group, middle-sized group, or in the case with what we did, a huge group. But you have to have layers of individuals with passion and love and caring and kindness who are willing to be a part of bringing the message forward. And then you have to have skilled artistic leaders who understand the importance of listening to the participants and what they're trying to share, because in essence, they were trying to tell us what they felt. And that was what this whole thing was about. It was about giving them a chance to understand what we were being subjected to, while at the same time understanding how difficult it was for them to digest it. But when they all came together and looked side by side and saw that they were working alongside individuals with mixed races and colors and ethnicities, I think that message resonated in this city for a moment. So much so that we were asked to come and speak here, we were asked to come and speak there, and that tells you it rippled. It did exactly what it was designed to do, which was to bring attention to the issue and help educate people who had a curiosity about the matter. And it gave them a safe place to bring their grandchildren and their children and their husbands and their wives and their grandmothers and grandfathers to work alongside Black people to see that we're not the devils that we're being painted to be. So what these artists did in a very short amount of time, frankly, was miraculous, because it's taken years to develop skills to manage people on that scale. And even with that, to create something on that scale in that short amount of time, we're talking about a city block $50,000 worth of paint. I mean, all of this in 100-degree heat, and people were showing up and on their knees and painting a sentiment. That if that is not the beauty of what art can be, I don't know what is. That's the message we should take from this experience, is that art is so dynamic and so has so many dimensions and so much depth that if you really slow your roll a little bit and pay very close attention, it can allow you to blossom as a person. Thank you, Vivian. I think you touched on that note, that thing that really was about the day. You know, it was great to be there and be an artist and be painting, but it was even more exciting to have all those people coming up and pouring their hearts and their souls into that process, and knowing that you and every other artist there felt the same way. And people tried to tear it apart, but they couldn't, because it was all just beautiful. It was just, you know, an experience designed to give people a safe place to say, I hurt for you and I want to show you I care for you. So Vivian, thank you for finding so many really cool artists too to put it in that process, because Natasha, I'm sorry for putting so many really cool artists in that process, because it never could have happened without the temperament put together that for that period.
I 100% agree. Sorry, Natasha, with the community of people that came out that day. My mural is on 63rd and Brookside. And just in case nobody knows where that is, it is on the west side of Troost, which is the red dividing line. And the community really, 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 really showed up. I mean, I think a lot of people always walk their dogs or go bike riding or just do neighborhood things around there. And I think that they literally, people were stopping in their tracks like, oh my gosh, can I help? I'll go change my clothes. I'll go put my dog away. I'll be right back. Do you have room? And we really didn't want to do it that way initially because of COVID, because of regulations. You know, you got to register, you got to this, you got to that. But you know what, as we got going and people were really adamant about helping. And then when you how do you tell somebody, no, we don't need your help, you can't help? How do you say that to somebody? You know, that's kind of hard to be like, thank you so much for wanting to help me with this project, but you got to go home. Like, if you want to pick up a paintbrush, people were bringing their children. There were kids out there. And I'm going to tell you guys, initially, before going out there, I was nervous. I was nervous. There were some obvious threats made, and we were made aware of those threats. And because of that, it made me really nervous to go out there and just be out in the street, out in the open, knowing that there were threats that had been made against us for going to make this statement. And when I got out there, I was so at peace. I was like, you know, God, if today is my day, then let it be today. But this is gonna happen, and I'm gonna be at peace with it. And when I brought my son is a teenager, and I saw people bringing their kids. When I say kids, I mean like 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, like babies. They really brought their children out there, and those kids were on their hands and knees painting. There were older people out there. I mean, there was a woman that was out there in her dress. When I say dress, I don't mean like a little cute sundress. I mean like this lady's Sunday best. She said that she used to be an art teacher. I said, oh my gosh, you're gonna get paint on your dress. She said, honey, I got paint on all my clothes. I'm a retired art teacher, and she got out there with her paint roller, and she was really working, you guys. She really was. And her skin tone was not the same as mine. And I say that to say, it really was a beautiful situation. It was beautiful to see everybody come together for this project, for the message that was being told. It was something that I longed to experience again. And I'd never in a million years would have thought I would be able to experience to begin with. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience for sure.
I would say, if we were going to talk about lingering effects, after that day, after all of the unity, after all of the love and the togetherness, at the end of the day, I met some really great people that I'm still in communication with. Like, we inbox each other, we message each other, we became friends on social media. They will support, they will invite me to things. People I would have never had probably crossed paths with without this opportunity. And then watching the lingering effects on the students. I had 4 students that came out. I'd invited 15 before actually came out and helped. One was very significant in measuring every piano key on the ground. And she worked so hard, I had to make her stop and eat. I watched people experience heat exhaustion. A man ran to the store to buy, we needed something, and he was like, I'm gonna go get it. And he ran to the store to get it, and he came back, and by the time he had come back, his wife was suffering heat exhaustion. So he ran up to me and was like, here is what you need. I'm gonna get my wife home. Thank you so much. I mean, just people were willing to sacrifice themselves for a cause, for to prove a point, to speak a message through art. And the art is still down. We were told it was going to be probably gone after 3 months. Some of it has really just lasted. You may not be able to see it as well because of the salt and the snow, but it's still there. And to watch students that I've had the level of confidence just in their own artistic ability. They came there to support what I had designed, but when we left, one of them took on her own mural project and led it through an organization. And I have watched her just grow tremendously. And our relationship has grown. Like, she'll text me a piece of artwork and ask me my opinion, and I'll give her feedback, and she listens, and she's really grown and developed and matured as an artist. And just watching those lingering effects, she uses her art to speak. Her truth, what she believes in. If she thinks something is culturally biased or not right, she shows it, she reflects it in her art. And I've noticed a lot of my students since then have really been doing that, as well as like looking at the artwork that I create. Because sometimes my work can be kind of in your face and really strong political content. And either you're gonna like it or you're not. And if you don't, you need to ask yourself, why don't I? Why does that bother me? But just watching the lingering effects of that, of the collective working, the unity, seeing how they are part of history. After mine finished quickly because it was the shortest mural out of all of them. And so I went to Vivian's site the next day, and I saw some of the little 5-year-olds, and they were just kind of, they were looking hopeful, like, I wish I could can I put paint? And I was like, yeah, come on. And so even if they just push the roller for a second, they're a part of this historical moment in Kansas City. It's like, yeah, just come and dab the brush, just so you can be a part of this historical moment that we will be able, or our children will be able to talk about time and time again. And even my children, my nephews, my nieces, when they were sitting in class after the murals had been down and their teachers began to discuss them, the amount of pride that they were even able to have to say that, you know, my aunt did that, my mother was a part of that movement, speaking on my behalf so that I can live life a little easier, so that things may not be as difficult for me. Man, lingering effects, to be able to sit in the classroom with predominantly white peers and say, my aunt was a part of that, you know, and then have them ask you questions and you're able to discuss lingering effects. Art is powerful in that way.
If I could also add to what Adrienne and Vivian said, just from an administrative end, you all, it was actually really scary. We sat down as a collective, and my mother is a praying woman. And I just told her, I was like, Mommy, I need you to pray all day for protection and safety. We weren't worried about Avrion because she had 40 people with her. And I'm pretty sure they were strapped, Because when I walked up, they were like, who are you? But I'm serious. The threats were real. And we just didn't know. It's like you're a sitting duck. And it was that moment as a collective that I was like, listen, if y'all want to bail out, I get it, because I cannot guarantee your safety. And I want you all to sit with that. It was these volunteers coming in, 40, 50, 60, 70 people at a site. We really could have had a bloodbath. And it's not outside of the experience of this country. You know, my daughter said the best part about COVID is no school shootings. She was like, I'm so glad we don't have to hear that. So when you think about still where we are, and people were not happy about those murals, and they let it be known in social media, in messages, in threats, yelling at the site, cursing, using racially charged words. And so it was such a huge lesson in that all of our activism looks different. I tell people, you will never see me at the front of a march. Nope, absolutely not. But activism can show up in a ton of ways. And when those artists, to me, in that moment, risked their lives, you know, and Vivian was like, I don't want to go out as a person who was afraid. And we talked about it. I said, well, Vivian, you got a family. You don't have to be a martyr. So I just want people to really sit with that in Kansas City, how real the threats were. And that it was love on that day. And it was actually the fact that it was so multiracial that I think really helped protect the artists. I do. Because people are still uncomfortable, you know, killing white women in this country. They still have a protocol for that. So all of those brave, artistic, you know, women and men and young people, you know, it was so family and so community. I think any threat around was like, I could kill the Black people, but I can't do it in front of those people. And so in that moment, that was how love wins. When people try to say, oh, love doesn't matter, art doesn't matter, it did that day. And when you saw people, like Michael said, the processing, all of us are processing. How do you feel about the police kill? What? How do I feel? I don't know. And so you saw people working out the angst in the heat, right? And I was able to go to each site, and all of them had different feels based on even the history of the area, on how people were comfortable moving around. But let me tell y'all, people were in prayer all day covering these artists, and it was felt, you could feel the energy of love, of universal love. And I just want to applaud the artists, all of them, and the organizers and the volunteers, because I was afraid.
Can I pick off of you, Natasha? I just wanted to speak on the community aspect of it. I've only mentioned it like once, but that night of the mural, I had came back just to take it all in. And one of the people that I was actually in connect with, one of the volunteers, he was just saying how he loved the event and so forth. And he made it to be his objective that night to be there posted in case anything happens. And something did. And he told me that one of the people who are against the whole project, they came with their Confederate flags in their 4x4 truck and made it known that they were not okay with it. And they spat on the mural that night. And they kept doing it until he ran down and said, hey, if you're gonna pick on something, pick on me. And that's when they ran away. But once I got there, they had literally just left, maybe 5 minutes or less. And he said, you know, I went to the corner store and I got me a beer and I'm gonna stay here because this is what we need. We need them to see it in their face on a daily basis. And it was at that moment, one of the moments during that time, that it made me feel I am here and that we all have a voice. And even though it wasn't just me, it was a community effort. And I wanted to make sure that a lot of children didn't get the question that I got all of my life, that what are you? And to be automatically knowing what that question means is to, I can't identify you to put you in your place. So let me know to put you there. And that day made me very aware of a lot of things that our community has, and that's community effort when it's needed.
So I'm not really, I know that I'm just teary-eyed because that's just who I am a lot of the times, but I 100% agree with Natasha that it was definitely love at the end of the day, even with the hecklers driving past, yelling out offensive things that they did, even with the guy who drove through the mural when it was barely dry, barricades weren't even moved. I mean, even with those type of things happening, it was people who showed up, and it was love, it was the prayers. Everybody, anyone who is potentially on this call that I don't remember or recognize from that day, I really want to personally just say thank you so much for coming out in that heat, for braving the weather and the paint fumes and, you know, all of the mishaps. We ran out of paint 3 times. We had a gentleman volunteer paint. He actually said that he paints tennis courts, and he had a lot of paint at home, and he brought 5-gallon drums of paint when we ran out of paint. He donated this paint to us. I had another friend when we ran out of paint, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we need more paint, but how can I buy paint? I don't have the money to buy paint. He went in his wallet and gave me his charge card and was like, here's my charge card. Just go get the paint. I don't care how much it costs. Put it on my card. It's enough. Don't worry about it. I mean, the love that was there, to recognize that when it was previously a fear, you know, when going out there, when you were afraid to even go, and then when you get there, what really trumps everything was the love that was there. It may sound like a cliche to say Trump or love trumps all, or love will conquer it all, but it really, really did that day. And it really does make me emotional to think about it, when you think about the threat and the fear that was put into people, and, you know, just really not wanting you to go. And then you think about how it all played out. It's like, wow, God is just so good, y'all. The project was just beautiful. It was amazing. So again, to anybody that was out there, you can raise your hand. I would love to be able to recognize you guys. I appreciate you. I love you. Adrianne is the real MVP for doing her entire mural and then coming to work on my mural too. Like, thank you so much. I love y'all. I really hope that we're able to go back out there and do touch-ups. And I mean, it was just a beautiful experience, sincerely.
This is the last thing I'll say, because the question was posed on social media, and I think somebody brought it up today, where they were like, what is this gonna do? What is this art gonna do? Now, when you think about that question and you think about everything that everyone has said, the art did a whole lot, right? Art is my platform. Words are not my platform. Sports is not my platform. We're all given a platform on which we can be, we can strike questions, make people reflect on their upbringing, their personal biases. And art is like the most expressive way to do it because you do it with no words. Sometimes, you know, you include them in your artwork, but it's a visual expression of sometimes things you can't even put into words, right? And it's longing, it sits there, it you sleep with it. Like Vivian said, you wake up with it. So yeah, what did the art do? It did a lot of things. It stirred up conversations, but ultimately it brought people together, and it magnified the love that humans have for humans, you know, to express something that's wrong, to bring attention to something that's wrong, so that we can all acknowledge it and learn from it and choose to grow from it or out of it. So that's what it did for all of those people that asked those questions. That's what it did. And it will continue to do. As artists, we have that responsibility, we have that platform. And so I'm honored to be here with you all. I'm honored to be a part of Black Space, Black Art. I'm honored to just be able to express myself in this way.
I'm muted. We're so honored to have all of the artists here today with us. It is a rare opportunity that you get insight into an artist like this, and that you get to speak one-on-one and hear about direct experience, especially from such a huge project like this that brought really a whole greater community together. And it's really incredible, and I applaud all of you. And it's really inspiring to see the community that you're building and uplifting everyone around you. And I really appreciate you guys joining us today a lot. This was really, really inspiring and powerful to get together. For anyone that joined us kind of late, I did put a bunch of call for entries and opportunities at the top of the chat box. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone. We have some stuff going on here at KCAC this coming week that I'm going to put some more links to in the chat box. And we definitely would love to see all of you again and join us. I have a quick announcement. Any artists who donated to our auction, we do have these custom face masks that are a little thank you to you guys for donating. So be sure to stop by the gallery or let us know if we need to mail it to you. That would be really great. And we do have a fun event a week from today in the gallery that will be COVID safe. We'll have people register, but you get to come and see all of the gowns that 16 local artists designed over the past 2 years. Beautiful gowns donated by the Gown Gallery, Sharon at the Gown Gallery, who we love. And they're really beautiful works of art, and you can try the gowns on, and it's just going to be a fun day. Next Saturday, that's here in the gallery, 11 to 6, all day long. And it would be really great to see you guys. Yeah, and just thanks again for joining, and check out some of these things we have coming up this week. And if anyone else has any opportunities or anything you want to share going on in the community, please post it in the chat box or speak up and share with us.
I will say one last thing. I have art at the View in Grandview. If you guys want to go out to Grandview and see the art that's there at the View, it's for sale. Just FYI. Thank you again for having us this morning.
There was a question. I don't know if that person is still on, Avrion. Just they asked about the PBS documentary. And was that you, Don, that asked that question? Anyway, just going to
Oh, Debbie Williams, and I think she may have logged off already.
Okay.
But we can talk about it.
I just wanted to post it. I know that I'm just now getting to the chat part of it all, but I didn't want to feel like she got missed on anything.
Yeah, definitely. Vivian, is the View Community Center? Is that where your work is hanging?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put a link in the box to it.
Okay.
Also, thank you for saying that, Vivian. We have work at Harvest Moon Botanica, which, if you don't know anything about it, in Kansas City, it's a Women of Color Business Collective, where they sell all types of groovy, handmade, definitely more towards natural stuff. My dear friend Teresa Goodman is the partner there. We're also at Brown Sugar Chicken and Donuts in Wyandotte County. That is a Muslim-owned chicken shack. Y'all, that's extra Black, just in case you were wondering. Every major city has one of those, but that's extra Black. But let me tell you, they have a really diverse clientele that come in. It's like the United Nations. Wyandotte County was excited for that. And we love partnering with them. We've sold a lot of art through Brown Sugar, and they're on Instagram and Facebook. Also Sweet Twists, where you can see one of Avrion's murals as well. And that is a loctician business, beautiful, natural Black locked hair, which Avrion just showed. Tahira, a young, brilliant business owner. And we are really excited to be partnering with our first LGBTQ business, Our Spot KC, which is in Wyandotte County. And so that installation will be happening. And I'm leaving somebody out, you all. I don't want to do that. We're at the American Jazz Museum. We're at Harvest Moon, Brown Sugar, Sweet Twist. That's it. Is that it? And we will be partnering with Revo in Overland Park, Kansas. So for any of you that live in Overland Park and you do local coffee, Revo is an Ethiopian-owned franchise, but you can buy into the franchise. And there's a gentleman, Brandon, and his wife is from Turkey, and they have an Ethiopian coffee shop. So talk about super diverse in Overland Park in Town Center. It's a great atmosphere, and they have a changing gallery that we'll be doing for 6 months there as well. So we have a lot of places where you'll be able to view the art, and please look for programming in the gallery, in the changing gallery at the American Jazz Museum. Also, we do paint and sips with Adrianne Clayton in the gallery. And let me tell you, because she is an art teacher, which a lot of paint and sip instructors aren't necessarily, which is not a bad thing, but Adrianne's paint and sips really literally come out, all of the pictures look completely different. The way she allows people to express and create and change how things can look, especially if they're doing their own skin color and skin tone, love. So my favorite one was a mermaid one she did, which was with a group of multicultural sassy women. And those mermaids came out of there with nipples and afros and straight blonde hair and blue eyes. It was great. So Adrianne is a great teacher as well. So yeah, just be on the lookout for all of those things, and let's all do our work to make sure COVID lifts, and so that we can get back out in the art world. I miss being around people in the arts, and for any of you all who have lost people or suffered with COVID, just want to send you so much love and light. I know how difficult this is, and thank you all for being here. You could have been anywhere else. And I want to shout out to my mama, my favorite vagina in the world. Thanks, Mom, for birthing me and not killing me when I was little, and for feeding my art and creating a safe place. So you all have a great day on behalf of Black Space, Black Art. And if we can share this, we would love to share it too.
Yes, definitely. We're recording it, and so when it downloads later today, I'll email it to the whole group.
Perfect.
Yes, and then everyone can share it.
Also, Spiva Arts, I don't know if any of you know about Spiva Arts in Joplin, Missouri. Currently, they have Jason Piggy, who is a member of the African American Artists Collective in Kansas City. He is a photographer. I don't know, maybe you know of him. He's a great photographer, and he has a solo exhibition. And then Sonny Ruffin also has an exhibition down there as well, called Journey Legacy East Town. And that's through March 13th. Jason's closes February 27th. And I think they have a larger collective exhibition. I can't seem to find that a few of my other friends are part of. Diallo French is part of that exhibition. So, you know, if you guys want a little road trip, Spiva Arts would be a nice one to go to. It's got some great artists, great people down there. So
yeah, Jason and I and Diallo and I have been friends for over 2 decades. And so, yeah, it's we have an ongoing joke that Jason actually recorded so many poets. He has large recordings of poets of the spoken word scene.
Oh.
So, yeah, when he's ready to torture us with those, he will be able to.
That's great.
Angie, can we look you up if we come down?
Well, I'm not down there.
Oh.
I just, I do a lot of, I enter the Spiva Arts for photography. And I just remember a lot of Black artists are down there this month. So several artists who I know personally. So I think it's going to be a great show, great exhibitions. I actually run the Kansas City Society for Contemporary Photography. And we have our galleries right next to the African American Artists Collective in the Arts Block on Independence Avenue. So.
Gotcha. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And Natasha, I believe we may have like met in passing. Didn't you do a talk at All Souls UU a while back?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I did. That was like 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was a while back, but you know, I've never forgotten you. Like, I know her.
Yes, well, it's good to see you again.
Yeah.
I love this. Well, I don't want to take up too much of everyone's freezing cold Saturday, but I am going to let everyone get back to their families and their sweatpants, and maybe we're already all in them. I know I am. But yeah, we just really appreciate everyone joining this morning, and we will make this available to everyone so that we can continue to share this. It's really important and really powerful and inspiring. So thank you, everybody, and stay warm, and happy Valentine's Day.